You wouldn't believe memory could fade just after a meal that seemed harmless. I've sat across from hundreds of older patients. They walked into my clinic with gentle smiles, bright eyes, and steady steps. And then they said to me a sentence so familiar it gave me chills, "I'm still fine, doctor, just lately. I've been forgetting small things." But when I looked at their brain scans, I froze. The memory region where the names of grandchildren, family memories are stored had already started to shrink. No noise. No warning. Just fading little by little. You think Alzheimer's comes from some kind of breakdown? Or from aging? No. Sometimes, what starts the process of memory loss lies in a meal you call healthy. Have you ever finished lunch, and by afternoon, felt foggy, hazy? You told yourself it was just a lack of sleep, just fatigue. But I'm here to tell you this, that might be the first signal of a brain running out of energy. Imagine the brain like a radio. In the morning, it tunes in just fine. But as noon comes, the signal starts to blur, and the voice in your head begins breaking apart. Not because you're aging, but because the brain's only energy source is blood sugar, it's swinging in ways you never realized. And that is where we begin to explore the shocking truth about blood sugar fluctuations, the silent eraser of memory that leaves no trace. Are you ready? That repetition is blood sugar fluctuation, the silent eraser of memory. Dear friend, what's most frightening isn't a stabbing pain or a heavy diagnosis. It's the small, quiet changes that repeat every day. No one warns you that just 3 unstable blood sugar spikes and crashes are enough to begin the decline of the hippocampus, the brain's most vital memory center. I once examined an elderly man, a former math teacher for 40 years. He said, "Every afternoon at 2, I get sluggish, don't want to talk or think." I thought it was age. But test results showed that his blood sugar spiked after lunch and then dropped quickly, leaving his brain energy starved, like a drained battery. There's one thing you need to understand: the brain cannot store sugar like the liver or muscles. It can only survive if glucose is delivered steadily and consistently. When blood sugar spikes too fast, the brain gets confused. When it crashes, the brain feels unplugged. Day after day, your brain becomes like a flickering light bulb. Not bright enough to remember. Not steady enough to think. And then, the most important parts of your memory begin to fall away. Many people without diabetes still suffer deeply, because the harm doesn't lie in high blood sugar numbers but in the constant fluctuations. Each time that happens, it's a small scratch on the brain. No pain, no bleeding, but slowly erasing the most essential parts of who you are. You might ask, so how do I control that energy flow? I want you to take a deep breath. Because the answer lies in something not new but rarely truly understood. Fiber. Not medication. Not expensive supplements. Just the right kind of fiber at the right time, eaten the right way. And what brought tears to my eyes was witnessing a simple plate of vegetables bring an elderly man's memories back to his family. So let's take the next step together, where you'll understand why fiber isn't just leftovers in veggies, but a gentle gatekeeper quietly protecting your memory, minute by minute. And surprisingly, it's fiber that silently controls the flow of sugar to the brain. You know, after decades in neurology, I used to think blood pressure, oxygen, or stress were the main reasons behind brain decline. But then, when I started paying attention to how sugar is absorbed into the body, I discovered a very humble play, yet one with a decisive role. Fiber. Fiber isn't just the stringy leftovers from vegetables, as many people assume. It's the silent gatekeeper, regulating how fast sugar enters the blood and from there, stabilizing the energy that feeds the brain. Let me share a simple image with you. Imagine you're pouring water into a glass. If you dump it all at once, and it overflows, it breaks the glass, causing chaos. But if you pour slowly through a small strainer, the water flows smoothly, steadily. Fiber is that strainer. When you eat a sweet pastry, sugar rushes in like a flood, shocking insulin, the brain jolts awake, and then crashes. When you eat oats and an apple, sugar enters slowly, energy lasts 3 to 4 hours, the brain stays nourished, and thoughts stay clear. One study I truly appreciate shows, people who eat soluble fiber in the morning have 35% less blood sugar fluctuation, and significantly better memory scores on simple recall tests. So why don't you notice a clear effect? Because not everyone eats the right type of fiber, at the right time, in the right way. Some think raw veggies are enough. Others believe boxed cereals are healthy. But in truth, those misunderstandings could be silently draining your brain each day. And I'll never forget the moment I saw a patient improve, just by adding real fiber to his meal. No medication. Nothing complicated. Just a plate of greens, a handful of beans, a bit of persistence. And memory began to return like a ray of light slipping through a room as the curtain is drawn back. But what truly moved me? It was the first time I witnessed this transformation, not in a study or chart, but in the teary eyes of a man who had once forgotten his granddaughter's name. He reclaimed piece after piece of memory, all thanks to a simple plate of vegetables anyone can start with today. And if you are ready to keep going, I'll introduce you to him, the man who stepped out of memory's shadows through a familiar dish from his kitchen. I once witnessed a plate of vegetables light up the forgotten memories of Mr. Donald. I met Mr. Donald on a spring afternoon at a small clinic in northern Ohio. He was 67 years old, a former railroad technician, slim-build with a calm demeanor. When he entered the room, he didn't forget to greet, didn't forget to take out his medical record, but he couldn't remember the name of his 5-year-old granddaughter, whom he took to preschool every week. He said, "Doctor, of course I know the little one, she's my joy. Yet yesterday I stood there looking at her for 5 seconds before I could say her name. It felt like a fog had covered my brain." I didn't find any major damage in his brain scan, no Alzheimer's diagnosis, no tumors, no clear signs of inflammation. But there was one thing that caught my attention. His blood glucose levels fluctuated constantly after lunch. I asked more about his eating habits. He said lunch was usually a white sandwich, canned orange juice, and sometimes sweet cookies. Very convenient, very light on the stomach, but the perfect combo to shock the brain with sugar and then suddenly drop energy in the early afternoon. I didn't give him medicine. I only suggested one small thing. Replace lunch with a real plate of vegetables, add red beans, some soft-cooked oats, and low-sugar fruits like apples or pears. No need to change much, just switch to real fiber. 2 weeks later, he came back. I didn't even need to. He started talking right away, in a very different tone. "Doctor." I remembered her name. No more delays. I even told her a bedtime story last night. His eyes lit up. Not excited but reassured, at ease, like he had just regained a piece of himself. It wasn't a miracle. It was just a plate of vegetables, served at the right time, the right kind to stabilize blood sugar and steadily nourish the brain during its most energy-drained hour of the day. And this has always made me ponder. If Mr. Donald could do that with just one small change, then why do so many people eat vegetables every day and still feel foggy, tired, and forgetful? Perhaps the problem is this: we haven't truly understood what fiber is and what kind of fiber protects the brain. And that's exactly what I want to explore with you next. Not all vegetables, grains, or fibrous foods protect your brain. One of the things I often hear after sharing with patients about fiber is, "I eat vegetables every day, doctor, but I still feel tired, my mind still feels foggy." And when I ask back, what kind of vegetables? The answer is usually, lettuce, cucumber, raw tomatoes. And then, I eat whole grain cereal, the boxed kind. Doctor, grains, that's good, right? This is exactly the confusion that's causing millions of people to gain zero benefit for their brain, even though they believe they're eating healthy. First, not all vegetables contain the type of fiber that stabilizes blood sugar. Water-rich, low-fiber veggies like lettuce, cucumber, and tomatoes, they're refreshing, but they contain very little actual fiber. They don't create the barrier that slows down glucose absorption. Next, boxed whole grain cereals often come with added sugar, flavoring, and processed oils. You think you're eating something heart-healthy, but in reality, the sugar spikes anyway, and the real fiber has been stripped out during manufacturing. Think of it this way, fiber that's good for your brain should act like a sponge beneath a rainstorm of energy, absorbing, holding, and releasing slowly. But the fake fiber types are like a thin cloth, unable to stop the flow, and your brain still gets hit with a sugar shock. Many older adults still believe that just eating a little bit of veggies is enough. Or that drinking vegetable juice every morning will keep them healthy. But you must remember, the brain needs a stable glucose stream, not a rush of veggie juice followed by a steep crash. Some even say to me, I drink smoothies every day, all with good fruits like bananas, mangoes, grapes. And I gently ask, have you ever eaten the whole mango with the fiber and peel, or do you just drink the juice? Because if you remove the fiber, you've removed the gatekeeper that prevents glucose from flooding the bloodstream. You're leaving your brain to face a sugar storm alone. What saddens me most is this, so many people eat vegetables and still lose their memory. Not because they're wrong, but because they haven't yet learned to tell the difference between brain-protective fiber and decorative vegetables. So what kind of fiber truly supports memory? And how should we eat to make fiber a steady source of energy for the brain each day? Let me take you to the practical part, where I'll guide you step by step how to eat, when to eat, and how much to eat so every handful of greens, every spoon of beans, becomes a solid layer of protection for your memory. To truly support memory, you need the right type of fiber at the right time in the right way. I believe this, no brain truly declines if we nourish it the right way. But to do that, fiber must be taken at the right time, the right type, and the right amount. Otherwise, it's like building a fence after the flood has already arrived. First, the right type. Fiber that supports the brain must be soluble, the kind that slows down sugar absorption, nourishes gut-friendly bacteria, and in turn, stabilizes both mood and memory. Foods rich in soluble fiber include cooked oats, red beans, black beans, chickpeas, apples, with peel, pears, green bananas, soaked chia seeds, flax seeds, dense vegetables like steamed broccoli, boiled carrots, and steamed pumpkin. On the other hand, watery vegetables like lettuce, cucumber, are great for cooling, but they should not be considered your brain's main fiber source. Second, the right time. A common mistake is eating vegetables at the end of a meal or only at night. But based on research on the brain's biological clock, the golden times for fiber intake are in the morning and at lunch. Morning helps slow sugar absorption early in the day, keeping the mind alert until noon. Lunch, crucial for stabilizing blood glucose, reducing the afternoon slump when many feel groggy and forgetful. Evening, light fiber can support sleep, but avoid hard-to-digest types. Third, the right way to eat. You don't need to eat the most vegetables, you only need to eat small, pairing fiber with other food groups to create a steady absorption rhythm. Here's my suggestion: breakfast, soft cooked oats, half apple, soaked chia seeds, a slice of whole grain bread, avocado, and warm tea. Lunch, brown rice, chickpeas, steamed pumpkin salad with steamed broccoli, sprinkled with flaxseed. Light afternoon, pear, walnuts. Avoid very ripe fruits like grapes, overripe bananas, and mangoes when overly hungry. Water, Drink a glass of warm water 15 to 30 minutes before meals to aid fiber digestion. And avoid pairing vegetables with fruit juice or soda. I always tell my patients, fiber isn't something you add to feel complete, it's something you eat correctly to stay clear-headed. With just a bit of intention, each meal can become a strong wall protecting your brain from sugar spikes. And from that memo, my mood and mental clarity can all begin to stabilize again. But there's one more thing most people overlook: fiber doesn't just help you stay alert during the day. It also affects your sleep quality, the time when the brain heals most deeply. And that's what I want to share with you next. A surprising connection between fiber, sleep, and the quiet power to restore lost memories. That sleep is when the brain restores memory, and fiber is the one who quietly opens that door at night. Did you ever experience anything during the day, whether it's a warm conversation or a careless comment that hurt you, is not truly remembered the moment it happens? They're just faint chalk marks on a board, and only when you sleep does the brain decide what to keep, what to erase. That's when the hippocampus, the center of memory storage, starts activating like a machine, reorganizing your life. It turns short-term memories into long-term ones, weaving scattered fragments into clear stories in your mind. And the condition for that machine to run smoothly is a deep sleep, uninterrupted, undisturbed. Sadly, many older adults believe insomnia is just part of aging. They turn to melatonin, sleeping pills, or simply give up until their nights are filled with empty spaces. But here's a truth few people know: fiber, often thought of as just for digestion, is his key link in achieving memory-restoring sleep. Here's how it works. Soluble fiber helps stabilize insulin after dinner. When insulin stays steady, the body can easily produce melatonin, the sleep hormone. The gut microbiome nourished by fiber begins releasing signals that calm the nervous system. The result: you fall asleep more easily, sleep more deeply, and remember better. I once worked with Mrs. Sarah, 72, living in Texas. She's a loving mother and grandmother. But for 3 years, she couldn't sleep for more than 4 hours straight. During the day, she was sluggish, spoke in fragments, and often repeated herself. We didn't start with medication. We simply changed her dinner from white bread and sweet soup to steamed pumpkin, a bit of soft-cooked oats, and a few pear slices. After 10 days, she slept 5 hours without waking. After 3 weeks, she remembered the lullaby she used to sing to her grandson. Science calls it sleep-mediated memory recovery. But I call it the return of a piece of her she thought was gone. No melatonin. Nothing but the right kind of fiber and a little patience. And then you'll see, deep sleep is not just a resting place but a hallway where memory returns safely. Fiber, in its quiet way, has kept that door open so memories aren't left behind. But once those memories are protected, a bigger question arises: what are we holding on to? And are you eating just to fuel the body or to preserve the most precious part of your life? So fiber doesn't just nourish the body, it's how you preserve memory, connection, and your very self. You know, throughout all my years working in brain science, I've always wondered, what truly makes aging the most heartbreaking? Not the wrinkles. Not the slowing steps. But when someone begins to forget who they are. There's a terrifying silence when a father no longer remembers his child's face. There's a gap no words can fill when a grandmother forgets the lullaby she once sang. And there's a quiet loneliness when you still exist in this world. But the memory, the part that ties you to others, begins to fade. We often speak of nutrition as care for the body. But few realize, fiber, that so-called hard-to-digest food, is what helps your brain remain you. Without it, blood sugar swings wildly, the hippocampus is damaged. You start losing focus, then forgetfulness creeps in, then you no longer know what's now and what's memory. With it, energy stabilizes, good bacteria thrive, and sleep restores. And memories piece themselves back together like fragments, forming a whole person again. I don't just see clarity through brain scans. I see it in the eyes, in the voice, and in the stories patients recall about themselves. They say, "I remembered the moment I proposed to my wife again. I'm not afraid of getting lost at the grocery store anymore. I feel like I'm coming back." And that's why I tell you today, you're not eating for your stomach. You're eating for your memory. You're eating so you don't lose yourself. Every meal with real fiber is a thread that ties you back to life, to your loved ones, to your past, and to the future that still waits for you. So if just a handful of greens, a spoon of beans, a slice of low-sugar fruit can hold on to the best parts of your memory, then I have only one last question: what's holding you back? And if you don't start today, what will be left to hold on to tomorrow? And if just a handful of greens could help you hold on to yourself, then what's holding you back? We've just gone through a journey together that I believe everyone over 60 should have known long ago. That memory doesn't disappear in a day, it fades quietly over time. And sometimes, the simple fiber in a meal is the silent weapon against that fading. I'm not just talking about leafy greens or red beans. I'm talking about a stable energy source for the brain every day, a hippocampus protected from quiet shrinkage, a deeper, more restful sleep where memory is reborn, a clear memory so you remain yourself. And a full presence in the lives of your loved ones, not forgotten by the eyes that once knew you best. You don't need to do anything grand. Just start today, with a handful of real vegetables, a spoonful of warm beans, a slice of apple with the peel on, and a gentle sip of tea in the late afternoon. That's all. And you've already sent a signal to your brain: I'm still here. I still want to be clear. I still want to live fully. If you feel that what I shared today matters, tap to mark your commitment to stay clear. Comment "I choose memory" if you're ready to protect the most precious part of your life. And don't forget to share this video with those you care about, those who also need to be reminded that they deserve to be remembered and to truly live. Follow the Thrive 60 Plus channel. Not just to live longer, but to live with clarity. Not just to protect memory, but to reconnect hearts that have slowly faded in silence. We're here to tell real stories of brave older adults choosing action instead of surrender. Choosing to keep every memory rather than trading it for surface-level convenience. Choosing to stay clear to continue being a vibrant part of their families, their communities. And if you've quietly read these final lines, then you're already part of that community. The community of those who don't just want to exist but to live deeply, clearly, and connected. See you in the next video. With a full heart and a brighter mind, day by day.